Hello, good people. How you doing? This is SNN Street News Now. This program airs every Thursday. You catch it 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 8 p.m. Central Time, and 6 p.m. on the West Coast. It is five guys and you over there, and don't do that over there in the corner. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You make sure you go to SNN Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. As Lee Michaels will tell us, no, we're building something over here, so we're doing our best to do that. I'm not Lee. I know I look like him, and I know I had to get more hair on my head, but it's a little bit too late. I'm Chris Bass, and I'm going to bring in my co-host in a second. And so here's the thing. Everybody has assignments to do. So our fearless leader, Lee Michaels, is on G-classified assignment. I can't tell you what the hell he's doing because it's classified. And then also Professor Reggie Miles, who is unfortunately not here, he's continuing to search and the quest for a funk IntelliKey. So while it's the two of them out, you still have the three of us. So it's me, it's Francisco Acosta, and of course it's Dr. Ron. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Oh, what up, man?
Well, there you go. Well, how's everybody feeling this evening?
I'm good, man. Another day in paradise, all good, no complaints. Life is wonderful, and I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Oh man, you too cool. What about you, Dr. Ron?
Man, it is a lovely day in the neighborhood.
You know what? You sound like one of those dudes back in the day. That's the house on the block you did not go to.
Well, I just had to throw some curve in there, That's
sure.
all.
Sure.
That's
yes,
all. Yeah, just a little curve.
Yeah, you wouldn't be Dr. Ron to start throwing curves.
I know that's right. That. Yeah.
Oh man. Yep. Always good stuff. So Dr. Ron, let's start with you. What's going to be on your topic tonight?
I noticed in the national news on this week that they were making a very big deal out of this Juneteenth celebration. And, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. We're going to talk about that.
Okay. You're not going to, okay, interesting. So, because a lot of people are drinking the Kool-Aid with lots and lots of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely get your take on that. Francisco, what's on your docket?
Well, my interest once again has been drawn to the dysfunction of government and the fact that one person, Joe Manchin, is holding up progress. And he's a Democrat, but we'll talk about how that's working when we get to it.
And on my docket tonight, I'll talk about tennis star Naomi Osaka, who had to remove herself from recent tennis tournaments because of the fact that she's suffering from some depression and anxiety. And I'll talk about the fact of what the individual or team athlete goes through when it goes through depression and the pressure to be on. And sometimes, you just need to decompress. So, Dr. Ron, let's start with you, sir.
Okay. Well, on this week, the federal government and the state of Illinois have passed bills to make Juneteenth a legal holiday. And I'm like, for what purpose, for what reason are we getting excited about having a holiday, to go out and celebrate, what Juneteenth, the definition of Juneteenth is really all about. Now, we understand in history in Texas, they did lots of black people extremely wrong by keeping them on plantations longer than they should have after the President Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation and, ended slavery. So, they had to send the Marines down to Texas in order to be able to make them let the people out of slavery. So I understand the significance of what the day is, but do we really need another holiday? Now we got a flag. in Chicago, they raised a Juneteenth flag in commemoration of this new holiday. So now we got a flag. Now we got another holiday. We got a day that people ain't gonna go to work, but yet we're not really getting any more rights, privileges, or benefits as a people or a race. And that to me is more important than a holiday. I would appreciate it a whole lot more, if they would sit down and hammer out, voting rights, that would stop them from, the states from taking over and blocking us from voting without, have to produce your firstborn. I mean, there's so many other things that would be, to me, more memorable and more significant and more important than trying to, and not try to. They established the whole holiday, and they did it bipartisanly. So like, okay, we'll give the black folks, another holiday. I think that's a slap in our face. When Asian Americans were getting attacked, they signed the bill right away to say, okay, y'all can't mistreat Asian Americans. They come together to patronize the public. Okay, yeah, I said that big word, and I'm not really comfortable, getting on the bandwagon, to say that, ooh, we have a Juneteenth celebration. Well, black folks been celebrating Juneteenth for a very long time anyway, especially in Texas. In Texas, it has been a very popular celebration. I have done shows in Texas where they were celebrating Juneteenth there, and then on the west side of Chicago, we'll do a celebration, but it wasn't nationwide. So now, okay, everybody's on the bandwagon. We need a federal holiday. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Am I in this boat by myself, guys?
No, no. I wholeheartedly agree. It's just propaganda. It's throwing people crumbs when there's a full banquet table. It's just meant to say, hey, we're woke. We're down with you. Please keep voting for us. So, I get it. I get what the government's doing, but it is a waste of time. When you think about all the things that government focuses on, like, for instance, steroids in baseball, where they had endless hearings on something completely meaningless. Yeah, professional athletes are doing steroids. Surprise. And why would anybody care? If they're all doing it, it's the same as none of them are doing it. But they threw in a lot of time and attention to that, and they put time into renaming post offices, sometimes deliberating for 2 weeks on these things. So what government is there to do in theory and what government is doing in reality are very often two different things. And, we're sort of left with these platitudes and these moments of propaganda that are supposed to assuage us and appease us. But meanwhile, like you said, it's not doing anything real for us. A day off is nice, but it's not as nice as voting unencumbered. So that's my take.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. They're patronizing us. I mean, really, we got so many other things that are issues, than another flag. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry, man. I'm just not feeling. I'm
And
sorry, Chris. What you think?
go
No,
ahead.
I was going to ask the question. Both of you really asked it for me, but I want to go more in depth into it. So we're being pacified. We're given the old, what they call back in the day with magicians, and still do when you're doing an illusion, you have to create a plausible diversion. So the left hand is doing something while the right hand is doing something else. And so this is another tactic that they use as a plausible diversion. And let me go around to the panel and start with you, Ron, since you brought up the topic. Will we ever see progressive change when it comes to us as a people in this country, or are we just spinning our wheels and won't go anywhere at all?
I'm an optimistic, so I'm gonna have to say yes. I do believe that there will be some changes, but we have to hold our government's feet to the fire. We cannot allow them to, give us nothing holidays, you know, um, and think we're getting somewhere. I like what Stacey Abrams is doing all across this country. She is pointing out administrations and governments that are trying to make voting far more difficult than it should be, and she's not in this by herself. She's on the forefront of trying to make these things happen. And so we got somebody that is a warrior and knows how to get these type of things dealt with and done. So I applaud her and I encourage everybody to follow her lead. Did she take a day off, to say, oh, it's Juneteenth and we have a national holiday? No, she's not jumping up talking about see y'all at the party. Do we need another day to party on? Come on, man. Really? The party is a diversion. The whole idea of not getting anything accomplished in government is a slap in the face. When are they going to take our issues, Black people of color issues, and deal with them realistically? Because they are
So maybe
not
there's
dealing with our. Yeah, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
maybe there's another question to ask, because you started off with saying that we have to hold government accountable and all that stuff. So my question is, how do you do that? And why? What is their motivation as the oppressive class to cater to the oppressed?
Well, I'm going to say in 2020, we have shown government officials that our vote counts. So if they want
Okay.
to earn our vote, then they have to
They're not
put our
interested in earning
agendas.
your vote. They're
Well,
not
they have to
interested in
put
earning
our
your vote.
agendas.
That's why 43 states passed laws making it harder to vote. So they're not interested in your vote. They don't care.
Yeah.
There's and it's great that you're an optimist, and I think it's wonderful to be an optimist. I do my best to be an optimist, but I'm more of a pragmatist.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at things for what they are. And look, I could very well be reaching the wrong conclusions. At the end of the day, I'm a talking monkey. I am not in love with the sound of my own thoughts or the sound of my own voice. I'm just as dumb as everybody else. However, when I see the history of what America has done to the minority class in this country, I cannot justify thinking optimistically about what could happen in the future. Because even if they pass laws, I like to make the important distinction, or at least it's important to me, that laws don't change how people feel about things. Okay, so pass all the laws you want, get all the great leaders, Malcolm X, Martin, all these leaders, Medgar Evers, that were saying beautiful things and passionate things and moved a nation. I mean, you had Martin Luther King Jr. standing over the shoulder of Lyndon Johnson as he signed the Voting Rights Act into law. That's amazing. Okay, but what did it really accomplish? And again, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the civil rights movement didn't yield anything. Of course it did. But it didn't change how the oppressive class feels about the people they oppress. That's why we're still having this bullshit conversation now.
Yeah, you have to agree. Yeah,
Well,
because they really don't care about us.
no,
Why would they?
never will. No, they never
Yeah.
will. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Francisco, about a bullshit conversation, but here's the thing, too. As people in this country, black or brown, we have no negotiating leverage. So, case in point, let's go back to what Dr. Ron said about the Asian Americans, being hit upside the head, and there was a movement to sign everything. Why? Because at the negotiating table, they have leverage. They have power. They have import-export with their countries. They have power. So immediately, that's going to happen. What do we have to negotiate with? Not saying we don't, but think about it. If everything obviously galvanized through money and power and privilege, the one who has the power, has the privileges, can dish it out, then what do we have to negotiate with at the table when it comes to a business or a business fracture, for example? So from that perspective, it's like, let's go back, for example, when they had, when President Clinton was in office, and you had all of a sudden, giving reparations to Japan. Why? Because they do business with them. It would have been bad business to ignore it. But now, like anybody else, if you, as they say with politics, anything else, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You take care of me, I take care of you. So that way everybody become pathetic. But you had nothing to negotiate with, you got nothing. And so again, when you look at the rapid fire, going back to what Dr. Ron said about Asian American, I'm not saying that it's not right to do, but he makes a very good point. You do. Look at the rapid response about all that violence with Asian Americans, got the bill taken care of for us. We're still slow poking. Why? Because we're only used for consumers. We're used to get votes. We're used for numbers. Out of that, we're used and always abused.
Right. And money makes the world go around, as you've both alluded to. And here's the irony of it. And the thing that makes me the most frustrated in this conversation is that as a voting bloc, if black and brown people would let go of the illusion of differences between us, we would be an enormous voting bloc. And the problem is, even if you bifurcate between Hispanics and blacks, either side is not monolithic in their thinking. There's so many Hispanics that vote Republican. I dealt with a self-hating black guy online today that's like part of the Republican Party. It's like, really, you're aligning yourself with a party that actively hates you? But okay, but this is what happens. So there is no unification. So if we want to have even the opportunity to be influential, like the Asian population and like other populations that are influential on government. I mean, America's sending $9 billion a year to Israel. So, and they're a wealthy country, by the way. So if we hope to have some semblance of influence on politics, we have to come together as a voting bloc. We just have to. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
Well, right. You're absolutely right. It's the classic divide and conquer. And they are winning and will continue to win if we don't get our shit together and say, look, despite our differences, we probably have more alike than non-alike. If we actually have to sit down and have a conversation. If we ever had that conversation, we have to sit down, we're going to break some hearts. People are going to get emotional, rightfully so. It's an emotionally charged situation. But we can walk away with a one mission statement, then we're on to something. But once again, that's like too much like right. But you're right. It's a matter of pulling together our resources, because black, brown, we're great people. We have a great history. So why not connect and make us stronger and really get some stuff done? But like I said, no, I don't smoke weed, but I know Dr. Ron does. I don't smoke weed, but
baby.
Oh, suddenly he's come to life.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby. Well, ain't that how they stole this country from the Indians, the peace pipe? They gave them tobacco and alcohol and slowly distorted their thoughts and disrupted their customs and their ways. And the next thing you know, they're extinct, So,
well, I mean, that's kind of really conflating a couple of things together very quickly. They're extinct because Americans brought over smallpox. The filthy Europeans came and affected the pure Native Americans. But with regard to alcohol, you're 100% right there, because the fact is that biologically, Native Americans don't metabolize alcohol well. That's why they have such serious issues with alcoholism.
Mm-hmm. Very true. But the distortion that they used in order to be able to make themselves superior over them, is the point that I'm aiming
It's
towards.
money and guns, man. Money and
Yeah,
guns. Listen,
yeah.
America, if you really want to get down to the essence of how progress is made virtually anywhere in the world, but specifically in America, it's a very simple thing. Louis C.K. said it best. You just have to throw human suffering at the problem. You want to build roads, then be willing to have people die who are going to build the roads. You want water tunnels coming down, like in the case of upstate New York, the water tunnel that connects upstate and downstate New York. And by the way, New York has the best water in the country. So there you go. Another reason why we're superior to all other places. But if you want water tunnels, then you have to accept that on average, one person dies every mile of a water tunnel. Okay. If you want tall buildings, you have to accept that one person on average dies for every floor that's built. When you're blasting holes in mountains to put highways through, people are going to die. When we were building the railroads, the Asian Americans were out there dying to build that. That's what progress takes. And we accept that. We have this tacit acceptance of a death toll with regard to any progress and any technology that makes our lives easier. You want cars? Well, 40,000 people a year are going to die on the road, but we're going to accept that because we want cars. You want iPhones? Well, people are jumping out of buildings because of the oppressive conditions at the iPhone factory in China, but we're going to accept that because we want iPhones. That's the reality of empire building, is that it's money and it's violence and it's a callous indifference to death and suffering. Sorry if you haven't heard this story before, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, I think the term that they use, socially acceptable deaths. Yep,
There
that's
you
the
go.
term. Yep, socially acceptable. All the casualties, oh, no problem. Yeah, we calculated the number. Oh, yeah, it's no problem. That's
In
within the margin.
Vietnam, Robert McNamara was famous for that.
Right.
He reduced warfare to mathematic equations. It was all, this is how many bombs we have to drop. This is how many innocent civilians are going to die when we drop them. And this is how many American soldiers we're going to lose during this campaign. And everyone gave a thumbs up to that. He didn't care about life. Suffering and death of human beings never entered into his consciousness when he was creating these calculations. He just accepted, hey, X amount of people are going to die for us to win this war. And of course, America never did win the war. But that's when you're building empires, that's what it takes. So everybody has blood on their hands, whether they like it or not. Of course, some are more directly involved with than others, but there's a lot of activities that we engage in. I know this is off the topic, but there's a lot of activity that we engage in, whether it's Amazon deliveries or buying almond milk or these things that are really disruptive to certain areas, and we don't ever want to think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. So did I answer your question, Chris?
No, not answer completely. No, I mean, you know how we do. We go long-winded, which we're supposed to do that, so we're good. As long as we stay on topic. No, we're fantastic. The great
Oh, damn it. We have to stay on topic. I'm screwed.
Oh, look, man. No, you're doing pretty good. No, you're doing all right. No, the show is still early, so we'll find out.
All right, good. I have time to redeem myself.
Exactly. So the great NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has executive produced a special coming up this weekend on the History Channel called Fight the Power, and it deals with all of the organizations that have come together to fight against the government and society over the years, whether it was the civil rights movement, when it was a women's right or women's suffrage. He makes the connection that all of us are fighting for a reason. So when I suggest, if you have time to check it out this weekend, check your local listings. Again, it will be this upcoming Saturday on the History Channel. I believe it will be 9 p.m. on the East Coast, but check your local listings to be sure. I'm definitely going to watch it. Because one thing, Kareem is the man. I mean, they don't call him Cap for nothing. If you follow the Lakers and the the NBA that he has done even prior to that. I remember my mother was telling me when my aunt was alive, when she was going to Northwestern, the buzz around colleges coast to coast was a guy named Lou Alcindor from UCLA, which is, just rocking it. So to have that history and to see where he's come from, and Kareem is the man of the line, so that this project that you're going to be like something okie doke, it's really thought provoking from the trailers I've seen, and so it goes back to what I said earlier in the conversation about strength in numbers again and alliances. When you align yourself with people, you can make a difference. That I believe in. That I believe in. And he said earlier about being a pragmatic and optimistic. I mean, like for me, people say, "Well, Chris, you're negative." I'm not negative. The situation is negative. That's what the situation is. I'm a very positive person, but I'm going to sit here in front and turn my back on a negative situation. So we have to find, again, alliances, like-mindedness, mission statements to move forward. So, I suggest it's funny you mentioned about the whole thing about coming together. So I think that's a reasonable situation. And so, look, we need all the ideas we can get to help move forward. So, and that's how I see it. But man,
yeah, I'm a big fan of Kareem's for a couple of reasons. Number one, he was an acolyte and student of Bruce Lee's. Was in the film Game of Death with him as one of the stages that he had to get through, that Bruce Lee had to get through. And of course, for whatever reason, he's not in the conversation when it comes to champions and championship rings and stats.
Oh, please.
Because, hey, little as it's known and little as it's talked about, his numbers are better than Kobe's and Jordan's. And I think many of his numbers are still better than just about anybody in the NBA.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, he was about business. One of my favorite stories, as it was told to me, and I saw it on various documentaries. So when Irvin Magic Johnson was a rookie for the Lakers, and they played their first game against the Clippers, so it was about 5 seconds to go. Kareem gets the ball from the corner, patting the sky hook, goes in, and Kareem is like, he's all business. And here comes Magic hugging him like they won the championship. And so in the true Kareem form, he says to him, "Irvin, we have 81 more games. Take it easy." and again, that business. But it's funny how you see people, evolve over the years. Because if you follow Kareem, hey, I'm here. I got my lunch pail. I clock in. I clock out. I'm going to give you the business. But if you notice this time with Magic, he started to become a little more exuberant. He's high-fiving. You see him smile. So it's amazing how people allow themselves to change and go along and really feel comfortable. I think Kareem said it best when Magic Johnson was retiring at the Old Forum. He said, "Irvin reminded me that I should be having a good time." So you just never know when people come into your life and just make that change. And you probably had all along, just needed somebody to help bring it out of you. And again, you see the iconic photograph of Kareem, then Lou Alcindor, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, help supporting Muhammad Ali. I know we're going through social media, obviously, like that, but we need that. We need that connect, because the only way it's going to work. The only way it's going to work.
Totally agree. Yeah. And Chocolate Yoda, you're absolutely right. Nobody ever gives Kareem his props. Nobody. They don't really acknowledge him for the years of service that he put in the sport and the championship rings that he put in. They just sportscasters just don't show him the love.
And I get that he's been out of the game for a long time and all that, but people, of course, you want to talk about LeBron, of course you want to talk about Kobe, of course you want to talk about Michael, but in that conversation, it would seem to me automatic to include Kareem, but they just don't.
Yeah,
it's also I think it's generational too.
Maybe.
Yeah, and one of his greatest colleagues that he used to fight against all the time was Wilt Chamberlain. Yep, those two guys had some. Yep, they had some historic games together. Against one another, not together, but against one another. Yeah, and the game has changed because of those guys. Those were the first 7-footers in the game. And the game changed because of them.
It's a battle of the Titans.
Yes, sir.
And Bill Russell, the great Celtics legend, he's 6'9", and was valuable against Wilter Stilt and those guys and everything. I mean, just it's the skill that does it.
And that was in the days before they nerfed the sport and you can't touch one another. Like these guys were banging for real.
Man, look.
Throw them bowls, man.
Yeah, man. Look. Oh, man. It was football with a basketball.
Yeah. But just the message. You always had an enforcer on your team.
Yeah.
Every team had an enforcer. So that guy was the one that went out and did the elbow and the dirty work and everything else. Because look, you're not gonna come in this situation kind of like, you got to take over. It's all mental. As you know, at the same time, getting somebody's head, you can throw them off the game. So just the fact that somebody knocks you on your ass more than once, that's gonna send a message, Doc.
Oh, it did. Yeah, look, that the old school guys. I think when they did the top 100 players in the game, and a lot of those guys, they did a lot of interviews and they talked about how the game was different when they played compared to how the game was played when they did that. Okay, because it was, even that was considered, it wasn't a recent top 100. They did a top 100 and, it was like, man, those guys, like, I remember when Daryl Dawkins tore the rim down. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Daryl Dawkins went up and slammed that thing. It took a whole hour for him to put another rim up, okay? Backboard included, So they was serious. There was a lot of power out there, Yeah.
Yeah, but like we said before about names not being mentioned, and once again, generational, because I'm watching the game last night of the NBA playoffs with Philadelphia and Atlanta, and who's in the house? Okay, generational-wise, it's AI, Allen Iverson, these Sixers, great, and then they pan to Julius Dr. J. Irving.
Yes.
So here's another brother who pretty much was the league for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, like back in the day, geez, when you get a pair of leather white Converse, depending on what kind of color you got for the stripes and everything at the star, you call them doctors. That's before pre-branding. So again, here's a guy who's just so electric, the dunks, the rock, the cradle, and everything else. I mean, the guy was the league himself, jumping off from the free throw line from the NBA All-Star game all those years ago with the fro and everything else, and the man just brought it. So when you look at,
I saw him play live. He was at Nassau Coliseum when he was still with the ABA. I saw him play live. It was electric. But of course, all due respect to Michael Jordan, but if you go back to the first dunk contest, which is Julius Irving, you will see the dunk that Michael Jordan is associated with. That sideways dunk.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He got that from Julius Irving.
Yep. And then underneath the rim, remember that one? When he went underneath the rim and then laid it back up. Yeah, that was all Dr. J stuff. But
Dr. J could do anything. He was a magician. He seemed to defy gravity.
Yeah.
And for a brief moment they played together. The old guard passing it to the new guard. And it was amazing. But yeah, I mean, Dr. J was the man before Jordan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then now you're gonna make me go back even before that. Earl the Pearl. Remember that? You're a New York fan, so I know you remember the story of Earl the Pearl. He had so many ball movements, man, that he was another one that astounded and made an evolutionary change in the game as well. Yeah. Man, I can name some names now, But that ain't where we're going though, are we, Chris?
You know what? This is what I love about you, Dr. Ron. We were doing pretty good until it's like at times with you, brother, and I love you, but goddamn you, it's like a spark going over in church. Just let we're doing fine. You know, they extend the obvious. We're just having a conversation. We were great. You want names and they talking about basketball players. We're doing fine.
Okay.
So that's no, I don't mind that. And then I'm sure Chocolate does, and we're going to get to this topic and eventually mine. But this is how it. All the hell with it. Go ahead, Chocolate. I'm sorry, man. Just the hell. Jeez.
Oh man! All right. So my topic. I am consistently disappointed by the way America runs things. And as evidence, right now, there's major legislation that is ready to be passed. And for some reason, despite the fact that most Americans want it and most Democrats want it, I think it's all but one Democrat wants it, and all Republicans are opposed to it. It might not go through because of one person, Joe Manchin, who is a Democrat in name only at this point, because this legislation is far-reaching, and it's about putting America back on track to recover from the pandemic and, move forward. And for some reason, he not only is he probably not going to vote for it, but he's acting like he's undecided, like he's like acting like he's the hot girl at the bar, and people have to court his attention. It's the weirdest thing, but maybe you guys have more insight into it than I do. But I just think for a country to be held hostage by one person is a flaw in the system. What do you guys think?
Well, I'd have to agree with you. Everybody has, ulterior motives on why they do what they do and things of that nature. And we don't know, like Professor Reggie would always say, who he got a call from. Who's pulling his strings in the back room talking about, we're going to need you to do this. We're going to need you not to do that. So I think it's a lot of that going on, that we may not have the full, understanding of what he's really up to and what he hopes to accomplish by doing the damn fool thing that he's doing. I just don't, what is his real interest? What is his real motive? It's always in
And
politics.
if we find that out, because that's an
Yeah.
excellent question, but if we find that out, the question is that motive or reasoning good enough to negatively impact the vast majority of American citizens?
In his mind, it is. Yeah, because he's doing it. I mean,
and I think we're giving him too much credit to even think that he's considering American citizens right now. Because in my mind, he isn't. Whatever hidden agenda he has is about him.
Yep.
We know politics is run by money and money is run by business, right? We know that elections are financed by roughly 200,000 people in America, in the richest families in America, and that all of politics is beholden to those people. Because if I give my $5 to support a candidate and someone else gives $100,000, whose call is that person going to take? That's just reality, right? And I think it's Stephen Krauss does a great job of breaking down campaign finance. And I would encourage everybody to look into that, because it is shocking that with a country of roughly 330 to 350 million people, that it really all comes down to 200,000 people that are financing politics. And as James Madison wrote in 1787 in the Constitutional Convention, and I'm paraphrasing, but the role of government is to protect the opulent few from the poor many. That's what the chief architect of the Constitution wrote. Mm-hmm. And has America ever been any different than that? No. That's always been what it's about, and it's still about that now. And that's what I think is informing Joe Manchin more than anything else.
Well, the thing about Joe Manchin that strikes me, obviously, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that any organization, including the government, you always have people who are spies, people who infiltrate to get information to the other side. It wouldn't surprise me if he was one of them, or because he just seemed like he's blatantly out there. Those are the ones that are like, cooperative and keep it on the down low but get quiet. They're out there and they're there. They exist. You want to do something, you hide in plain sight. So who's to say that he's not really for the other side of the Republican Party? We just never know. It would not surprise me because too much power at stake in these situations.
Well, that's the Whitey Bulger move. For those of you that might not be familiar with that name, the film Departed, which ripped off the film Infernal Affairs that came out 4 years before it, is all about how Whitey Bulger had infiltrated the police department by sending one of his guys or several of his guys into the police academy to become full-fledged police officers, but actually be working for the mob. So I had never considered that possibility before, Chris, but I think you're onto something.
Yeah, and that was the Boston Police Department, I do believe, right? Wasn't that Boston? Yeah. Somewhere on the East Coast, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hub of civilization. Yes, the East Coast. That's right.
You know what? And forgive me because once again, this is all new to me, ladies and gentlemen, peoples out there checking this out. Apparently, there's this squabble, quote unquote, between East Coast and Ron.
No. There's no squabble. What there is Ron's delusions of grandeur that any place is better than New York City, especially Chicago. But all right,
I wouldn't put Chicago high on the list. I think some other places are a hell of a lot better. But just
name one.
The East Coast, man, they have an ego, and that is bigger.
That is well earned.
It's totally well earned. Bigger than the whole
the old
United
saying,
States.
It ain't bragging if it's true, right? We're the world financial center. We are the trade center. We have the most diverse city in the world in New York City. The most countries are represented in high schools. I mean, how many different boxes do you need us to check before you concede the fact that it's the greatest place in the world?
It probably would be a better place if they learn how to be civilized, New York.
Like Chicago, right? Civilized like you guys. Yeah.
There you go. Once again, please, I'm not a big fan
instruct
of Chicago
New York
either.
on how to be civilized.
I'm time out. Time the hell out. I'm going to be the PC cop for tonight on this whole thing. This is not to go against anybody else that's watching from any type of coast to coast or wherever you are. Wherever you are is beautiful. I'm not going to talk about the East Coast. I love my city. I'm pro my own, not anti anybody else. But what you two should do on a special broadcast is go back and forth, have a debate about East Coast and Ron. Because I said for Ron, you're your own coast. So the Ron versus the East Coast, and then take it from there. Because I'm not going to get into the whole thing about my city is bigger than yours, or if it's a fishing contest, or taking a urination into a river, it's cold and it's deep too. We ain't getting that type of stuff. That's a whole different show. It's interesting. It was a whole different show. So we have to revisit that. As they say, we'll shelve that for now, and then get back into it later on.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm having my popcorn now.
I ain't gonna mention how we have good pizza in Chicago, though.
Yeah, and how pizza started in New York. But go ahead. No, please tell me more.
Yeah,
tell me more about that Chicago pizza, please.
Yeah, Chicago style hot dogs.
Fantastic. Oh, spectacular.
Yeah. Not just Nathan's. Go ahead, Chris. When you said shelve it, we said we're gonna shelve it. We're gonna shelve it.
Yeah, I said that, but you're still on the shit.
No, we just having fun, y'all. Look, just for people that don't know how we operate,
tell them, man. We just having fun.
We just having fun. There's really no animosities towards.
Oh, none whatsoever. No. This is all just fun stuff. Hey, listen, I do believe what I'm saying, but I don't. Look, everywhere is great. Everywhere you live is wonderful. If you enjoy it, that's the only thing that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I truly believe going to New York is a fun place to visit. I really do. So
Yeah,
I
that's
just
why
have
the
to throw
world
that in.
visits it.
That's how. Yeah, that's why I can
Yeah,
speak
let's
about the
let's
things
count
I
let's count the
experienced there.
tourist traffic to New York versus the tourist traffic to Chicago. Let's just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Got you. Same thing. Same thing in
Yeah,
Chicago. They will
yeah.
come. We built it. They will come.
See, people. When you're dealing with when you're dealing with people like I'm dealing with right now, you have to
Uh-huh.
understand something. Some people just don't listen. They say they want to listen, and they don't.
Man,
Now you heard Dr. Ron
it's
repeat what
true.
the fuck I just said
Yeah.
about shelving it. That didn't mean anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That didn't mean anything. It's like, you shelf it and then you get back on. It's like, well, damn what he
yeah,
said, man. I'm going back to the whole
yeah,
thing about pizza and hot dogs and
yeah.
Nathan's and Vienna beef and everything else.
Habitual line stepper.
Exactly right. Thank you, Charlie Murphy. Yeah. I'm going to start calling Dr. Ron Charlie Murphy.
Okay. Now I got another
Habitual,
name. All right.
or Rick
Charlie.
James. Habitual line stepper.
Now I got another name.
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
Yeah.
All right. All
Oh,
right.
no. Oh, man. How do you come behind that? I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, so, all right, so here we go. So for those of you out there who follow the world of sports and tennis in particular, tennis great, and she's ranked number 2 in women's tennis. Naomi Osaka had removed herself from this year's French Open due to anxiety and depression. She also skipped the mandatory post-match news conference. She mentioned about this because of the fact that she believes that she's suffering from just that. And it made a lot of pushback. And during this time, when she withdrew from the French Open, she was fined $15,000 for not being part of the press conference. She also had to pull out of the WTA Berlin's grass court tournament, and currently she has withdrawn from this year's Wimbledon to take personal time with family and friends. The fact that when someone's going through mental wellness or trying to achieve mental wellness, look at the sports that are individualized. So you have tennis, for example, golf, and boxing. And here's a person or persons, he or she, that go out there on a court, in a ring, on the green, and stand on their own two and say, here I am, and compete on the highest level. And to be pushed back with the fact that they have something to deal with on their own, and it's meant with, oh, don't worry, suck it up, buttercup, you'll be just fine. And that's beyond wrong. You have to take into consideration the fact that people are trying to survive. They're trying to have their own pressure that they put on themselves, because not everybody's going to do it. Not everybody's going to have the ability to walk into a situation. No one might go through the territory, but to walk into a stardom, like, let's go for example with Naomi Osaka back in, was it 2018? We started to win championships. And to go in there to have the press conferences, you got to do the commercials, everything else. And some people say, well, yes, yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, it's pressure. Not everybody can handle pressure. Some people do need to go to a psychiatrist or a psychoanalyst to try to find a way to navigate, try to find a way to make it all make sense. And I think that when you put your personal stuff out there, sometimes it's going to be meant with people going to say they don't understand. I think the key thing is try to understand, especially if you're an organization that wants to make sure that your players stay healthy, not only body, but also of mind. She has currently received support from Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Coco Gauff, Martina Navratilova, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Usain Bolt, to name a few. And that's a great thing. And I think that when people come forward like her, she didn't have to tell her business, but she had to because of an unfortunate circumstance of being fined from the U.S. Open not doing the presser. But you just never know who you're going to touch. There's somebody out there that's probably going through it, and because of you being high profile and you're in the news every day, you make that person feel not as alone anymore because they see you, and they'll use you as an example. And I applaud, I commend her for coming out with this because it can only help. And the fact she's stepping away to take time with her family and friends, nothing wrong with that. That's fine, especially when you're on a whirlwind tour of your career. You don't really get a chance to see family and friends because your commitment's to the sport. And now you have a commitment to your health, which I think is very important. And to all the naysayers out there, y'all need to get a life. Understand that in order for you to continue to cheer on these individuals, support them all the way. We have a habit of putting people on pedestals, and sports athletes are no different. But then when they show their human frailties, they show their scars, some people don't want to hear it. It's like, okay, get back out there and, hit that tennis ball. Go back out there and box. Go back out there and, hit that line drive. You should think that there'd be more understanding. Unfortunately, it's just a way of life with certain people. But if we're able to find our own frailties, our own faults, what makes you think that these athletes don't go through that themselves? And if you don't want to do a presser because you're suffering from anxiety and a form of mental illness trying to get into mental wellness, okay, let them do it. And the fine thing, going back to not the U.S. but the French Open with $50,000 for the fine, they should really reconsider that. They should rethink it, probably take the money and donate it to a mental wellness situation, organizations, to show that they're understanding. I understand about people living vicariously through their sports athletes, but you got to get a grip. You got to understand that these people are doing the best they can under very high circumstances.
Yeah. I think that America's attitude toward mental health is completely dysfunctional. And also its attitude toward commerce at all costs is equally dysfunctional. Just a few days ago, one of my favorite actors, Ned Beatty, died. Mm-hmm. And he was in the film Network, which is a brilliant takedown of journalism, broadcast journalism. And basically, the lead character in it started developing a cult following and telling people, turn off your televisions, stop buying products. You don't need to do that. Be free of capitalism, all this other stuff, right? And Ned Beatty plays the head of the network, and he pulls this guy in, and he gives him a long speech about how capitalism is so vital to the workings of America. And he concludes by saying, you have meddled with the forces of nature and you must atone, right? So that's the attitude that America seems to have when there's money on the line, that it's more important than your feelings. It's more important than your health. It's more important than your mental well-being. And this is extremely dysfunctional. The fact that mental health is not taught to children in schools. We trap children in schools for 13 years, from kindergarten or preschool, I guess from kindergarten to high school. They're in school 13 years. There are no classes about emotional management. And what I find ironic is if this young lady had said, I have diabetes and I have to take my medication, nobody would think twice about that. If she said, I have cancer and I have to have treatment for it, nobody would think twice about that, because those are organic diseases. Well, guess what? Brain chemistry works the same way as every other chemistry in your body. If you have diabetes, that's a chemical imbalance. If you have cancer, that's a chemical imbalance. And nobody bats an eye when people present you with these types of organic diseases. But if someone says, I'm suffering from depression, then it's a different story all of a sudden. Why? I don't get it. Chris, I think your idea is wonderful. Like, take back that $15,000 instead of fining her for it. Donate it to some mental health organization. Like, when are people going to wake up and realize that commerce is not the most important thing? I get it. We all have to make money. We all have to pay our bills. We all have to be good little consumers. And because that's what we are. We're all batteries in the matrix. We're all profit centers for lots of different companies. And I'm fine with that idea. But, like, is there no part of this system that allows for compassion for human beings? Give people a break, man. If people are not feeling well, if people have challenges mentally or emotionally, it's just as significant as when they have the flu or diabetes or anything else. It's all health, folks. It's all just health. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Chocolate Yoda. People that live their life in the public eye or spotlight or exposure, they have an unfair responsibility and burden that they have to live up to other people's expectations of them. And I'm not just going to stop at sports. I'm going to include, entertainment personnel like rock and roll, R&B, anybody that has what they call a celebrity attached to their life. And when they go places, they have no privacy. They have no personal time. Sometimes people just want to be, to themselves. But then you have people that, want to bum rush you for autographs or, oh, can I take a picture? And that works heavy on your psyche. That works on you. It bothers you. And sometimes people don't understand to what level of discomfort that can be. And, the fact that she pulled out of the world stage at that time, was her way of dealing with what she was going through. And I can remember even in the tennis world, there were many other in the past tennis celebrities and stars that have done the same thing. They just, turned around and began to attack the media and the public because of the disrespect that was turned onto them, for, what they chose to do or not do that did not meet public approval. So, it is very difficult to live up to the public expectation because you're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to, appease everyone what they want at every given moment that they want it. So, protect yourselves. You have to protect yourselves. That's the greatest advice that anyone can receive in a situation, in a scenario like that. You have to protect yourself. And this young lady protected herself by pulling out and pulling back in order to be able to deal with what she needed to deal with so that she can continue to move forward with her life. So I applaud her for doing it. And I support anybody else that has, those same issues where they're just having difficulty, public pressures that are put on them, and they have to deal with that. They just need to shut down and pull back. There are many people that have done it throughout, public appearances and public life that they have to in order to be able to be successful at what they do. So that's what we have to look at. We have to respect, big word, right? Respect people's privacy sometimes. That's a big thing.
You're right. You're absolutely correct. I want to put this comment, as we always go through the show here, we always put comments posted here. I want to address this one because it goes to what Francisco just talked about. and I want my colleagues to respond, but I'm going to go first. Ron, not you, Rob. There's Ron on the screen here says, when that celebrity should stay home or get another career, they make way too much money to feel sorry for. Now, please let me go first. With all due respect to Ron Atkins, this is exactly what my brother in broadcasting, Francisco, was talking about. When you look at the money and how much they're making, that's the field. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm Captain Obvious right here. That's the field they go into where you can make that cachet, where you can make that check or checks. But last I checked, they're still human. So what, they make the money, all their problems go away. They shouldn't have any type of injuries. They shouldn't have any type of mental conditions or things like that. See, now you get in the dicey territory where you just don't give a fuck. And I understand, because people wish it was them making the money. Let's call for what it is, as far as I'm concerned. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. People have problems. They have issues. So if you don't feel sorry for them, Ron Atkins, that's great. That's fantastic. From your perspective, yes, I feel sorry for them. Why? Because, again, as we just iterated throughout the panel, the pressure that goes along with that, not everybody can handle it. Some people are just born and have a natural DNA to juggle and to navigate and to comport and do well. Not everybody can do that. You factor in the pressure, you factor in, hell, nowadays social media, if you keep on with that. We've seen over the years about cyberbullying when it comes to, certain children, even adults go through that. So we're looking at a dynamic that is 24-hour pressure. Like back in the day, depending on your age, you went to school, you may have had a fight with a kid at 3:15 when you got out of school and everything, and you went home. And you was able to power down and have your meal with your family and do your homework and go back to school the very next day. Nowadays, because social media, everything's 24 hours. Everything's 24 hours. You go to your phone, there's always somebody talking about somebody else. And then the pressure alone just to be adolescents, at night got to factor in this too. And then it's your own classmates, your so-called friends, everything else. That on that level, imagine that as an athlete or celebrity times 10,000. So the disconnect that certain people have because they don't want to hear about somebody's personal problems, you would think that if you admire somebody that's a sports athlete or a celebrity, that you would have more empathy because you want them to do well. You want them to be healthy at all shapes and forms and sizes and things like that, because when they're healthy, they continue to give you a good product so you can continue to be a fan of theirs. I yield my time to my colleagues.
Yeah. I don't know Ron Atkins, so I won't address him. And since he can't be on the mic to respond, it would be unfair if I did, but I will address his comments. I think they are an indication of a soul sickness that permeates too many Americans. The idea that money, whatever amount he believes is the right amount of money, will strip away somebody's humanity is absolutely absurd. Let me ask you a question. How much money do you have to make before you don't feel the loss of a loved one? How much money, in Ron's estimation, is enough money to not feel sad when someone in your family is sick? Is there, what's the equation? I'd love to know. I've never found that out. I've never heard anyone say that there's a direct correlation between how much money you make and how much of the human condition gets eliminated from you. The fact is that if money was the thing that allowed you to live outside of the normal human condition, then no one with money would ever be sad, would ever feel the loss of loved ones, would ever, not commit suicide, but we know not only wealthy people, but famous and wealthy people, adored people that have committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to know, Mr. Atkins, what amount of money do you think that it takes before we can have compassion for another human being? Because I don't think there is an amount. I believe that suffering is suffering. The only thing that money addresses is money issues. The only thing that money means is options. That's it. It doesn't mean you'll be happy. It doesn't mean that the people in your life won't get sick or die. You know, I mean, Robert Plant, one of the most famous rock and rollers in the world, he lost a 6-year-old child. Oh God, who's the other one? His name is not coming to me right now, but his 3-year-old son fell out of a window and died.
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton, thank you. So do we turn to him and go, well, you make a lot of money, fuck you? I mean, it's just a ridiculous notion. Again,
Yeah.
Mr. Atkins, I'm not addressing you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to your statements, and your statements are ridiculous.
And so, to be fair, because it's a very valid point you made up, Yaddah. So here's this link that Ron Atkins or anybody else in the comment section can come on board real quick. To be fair, so if you want to come on real quick, you know, you can, like I said before in other programs, make sure you brush your teeth. Make sure you wash your ass. Please do that because we can smell it from here. So when you click on the link there, please come on board. You come on through with Street News Now and have your commentary as we proceed on. So it's there right in the comment section for you to come on board. Dr. Ron, your thoughts?
You know, I have to agree totally with both of you guys. You know, people are people, and there's no amount of money that you can think in your mind that you can pay a person that they should disregard their health mentally or physically to do what they do. You know, we have seen in our lifetime many champions that have battled through their human condition to continue to be a part of whatever championship that they were going through. And that's their personal best to be able to continue on under whatever conditions that they're going through physically or mentally to achieve what they can achieve. But they don't owe that to us. That's not something we can say you're making $1 million or $30 million or $40 million and sit back and say you owe that to us because that's your paycheck for today. You know, no, that's they don't owe that to us. You know, just like I can break it to another level. Kanye West, you know, was having a mental breakdown and he had to cancel his tour. But there were many people that witnessed this breakdown occurring or happening over his career, of the life of his career, but they were cruel. They were not kind towards him on many occasions. And even to this day, they still are not, you know, nice towards Kanye West and his mental condition. You know, he has a condition. You know, he needs and he has sought on more than one occasion various types of treatments. So to function day to day under those kind of circumstances is a battle that some people need to realize that celebrities don't owe us anything. Sports athletes don't owe us anything as fans or the public that support them. So we need to stop having an expectation that can cause us a disappointment when they don't meet it. You know, plain and simple.
No, I agree with you, Ron. I think the contract is very simple. Athletes play their sports. We get to enjoy them. Entertainers do what they do, whether it's acting, singing, writing books, television shows, whatever it is, and we get to enjoy that. That is the end of the contract. That's it. It's done. They don't owe us signatures. They don't owe us photographs. They don't owe us time at all.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
And yet we keep demanding that of them. And, you know, it reminds me of something that Jon Stewart just said a couple of days ago on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Because I think this is a really good overarching illustration of human beings. He said, if you handle an atom one way, it can power entire countries. If you handle it another way, it can blow a lot of people up. Guess which way we tried first.
Yes.
Okay, that's human beings. So that response that Ron gave about, well, they make money, so screw them. That's the unfortunate reality of how a lot of people think about things, man. And it's just not going to propel the species forward, man. That we have to have compassion. We have to understand that there are way more important things than the amount of money that you make. You know, people on their deathbed are always asking for more time. They're not asking for more money.
Well, come on now.
Exactly. Yes. That's it's amazing. Dr. Ron, you mentioned earlier conversation about throwing in celebrities. One of my favorites of all time, Robin Williams. Light years. I mean, he wasn't even from this planet. I mean, I believe he was from somewhere else. And that's how fantastic he was. And I remember reading
shockingly talented.
Oh my God. You had to put him in a different category. You can't put him with anybody else. That's how great he was. And I remember reading about a lot of his stuff after he passed away. So I'm reading about the time when he was working with ABC with Mork and Mindy. So he goes to, I think it was the Comedy Store in LA, and John Belushi's doing the set. And here's this guy heckling him. It turned out to be Robin Williams. They were good friends. So they go have, sit down, and it was like, look, man, we should do something together, try to get a movie together, something like that. We'll tell you what, I'm going to the hotel. This is John Belushi. Go get some blow, get some women. Why don't you come with me? No, man, I got to do the set tomorrow on Mork and Mindy. That was the night John Belushi died of overdose. And Robin Williams, of course, was doing drugs during that time. And added on, not only would people do drugs for whatever reasons they do to a form of escapism or whatever else they do individually in their lives to make them go to that type of vice, but you add on the pressure of being a celebrity. Add on the pressure that, he was virtually almost like an unknown to carry a whole show, and to go from, really almost to damn near obscurity to like front page news. It was amazing, and again, not everybody can handle it differently. One of the things I remember reading about in the story was, so everybody knew that he was doing blow, meaning Robin Williams. And so one guy on the set, I think it was like a grip guy, something like that. Hey, Robin, go do some blow with us? He said yes and walked away. I thought the most sobering thing I ever read in my life. The fact that it's an ongoing battle, like you said, Dr. Ron, it's an ongoing battle. When these people go to Alcoholics Anonymous, Drug Anonymous, whatever, and they had these meetings, it doesn't stop there, obviously. It's for the rest of their lives, they got to battle this thing. The temptation is too great. So the fact that certain people cannot separate the fact that they're under probably the most undue pressure that we can't even fathom. The fact that they come out there and deliver all the time, that's their skill set, that's their job and everything else. But the fact that you have people out there that just have no empathy whatsoever, don't give two fucks whatsoever, I think it just shows you right there. It's like, you just, I don't know, maybe like one of them fair weather fans. Someone like myself, who obviously admired Robin Williams, loved his work, I wanted him to get well. I already know you're talented. And the fact that you shared it with the public, I just goes to show you again, he didn't have to do that. They don't have to do it, but they did. And the fact that, look, damn everything that, I know you're the man. I know you're established. Get better. Get well. So you can continue on in your life. Not only for your personal life, but professional life, and give us more, and give more to your family, and be around for a while, him or her.
Amen. That's all that goes right there.
Amen and amen.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
all right, good stuff. Anything else you guys want to do, bring up, or we're good?
No. I got something I
Good.
want to bring up from last week, man.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was doing some research,
Shit.
Oh man, now I remember.
And I ran across an article that asked the question, does cannabis interact with a covert shot? And of course, I read that article in depth because I wanted to know the answer to the question. So, yeah, according to what is suggested by the person that had done the research on this, they said that if and when you take the covert shot, that you should pull back from doing as much. If you are a heavy weed smoker, you need to slow down during the process time that you're going through the shot. If you're just a casual weed smoker or user, then you should not experience any problems whatsoever with interaction from the covert medicine whatsoever, quote unquote. That's what they're saying. So
I'd love to know what that's based on.
Yeah. Dr. Frank.
Because what studies could have been performed to verify that?
Well, according to Dr. Frank Lucido, a medical cannabis specialist based in Berkeley, California, worries about lung illness from severe covert, not vaccine weed interaction. He told them boldly in an interview. So that was
he worries
his
about that.
Yeah, that was his.
And by the way, is he an immunologist?
He just says a medical cannabis specialist.
Fantastic.
That's his credentials. Yes.
Yeah. So how about just shut the fuck up?
Paging, doctor, shut the fuck up. Paging, doctor, shut the fuck up.
I mean, hey, listen, I respect his specialty, and that's all wonderful. But what the hell does that have to do with immunology? What does that have to do with pharmacological interactions? There is no way that there have been enough studies, if any, on what he's talking about for him to have an opinion on it. And if the best he can come up with is I'm worried about it, it sounds like he's just a media whore.
Well, he said he's worried about lung illness from severe covert.
Based on what?
Covert attacks people's lungs, the disease itself.
And I think what Ron is talking about is COVID, but go ahead.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, COVID, that one right there. Yeah.
I thought it was just me because I was expecting the word operation.
Hey,
I let him get away with it like three times. I thought he would self-correct, but it wasn't happening.
Look, y'all know I'm from the South Side of Chicago. Come on now.
A damn thing. God, don't do that, man.
And in New York City, we're taught how to read at an early age. But go ahead.
I know that's right.
God.
Yeah.
I thought covert operation. I thought was coming up next.
Yeah. Just a topic, and you bring out a valid point. There has never been enough research on the vaccination or anything else to be able to associate any long-term.
There's barely enough research about the vaccination. I mean,
exactly.
So let me ask the panel a question. How many people have died from marijuana use?
Not that I know of.
And Willie Nelson's still here.
So the answer, the medical evidence points to 0.
All right now.
No one has ever died from pot use. Not once, ever. Okay, so the idea that he is identifying cannabis as an issue with nothing to go on, it sounds like. I mean, if there was a study, I assume he would have referenced it, and even one study isn't enough. You need several studies before you can actually draw real conclusions about anything.
Well,
I just don't see how it's possible.
Well, he didn't say that there was a problem with it. He just said heavy use can cause a problem. So,
What problem and what is heavy
yeah,
use?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like you ever go to a doctor and as part of his recommendations, he's like, well, cut down on salt. I had a doctor tell me that one time, cut down on salt. And I said, what does that mean? How much salt am I taking in? How much is too much? What's the recommended amount? Because if you tell me cut down on salt and I normally do 5 shakes and now I do 4.5 shakes, am I okay? Like, what are you talking about? Like, don't just, I hate these like just broadly based statements that people make with nothing to back it up. I mean, this is a doctor. Like, be precise. Know your fucking job and speak in a precise way.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was an interesting topic, seeing as how, the
It's interesting, all
vaccination
right.
and cannabis are on the upswing even more and more. I like what Jed, he did. He just endorsed what you said, 0. 0 people have died. Yes. Yeah.
By the way, same number of people that have died from steroid use, 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, aspirin kills 3,000 people a year. Where are the fucking Senate hearings on that?
Uh-oh.
Oh no, we can't have that. You're thinking too much.
Uh-oh.
Everybody takes aspirin. That's the FDA. They got to
Yeah.
get paid too. So
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
I am interfering with the forces of nature.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Look, and I'm gonna add one more on top of that. I remember a few years back when Dr. Oz came out with that study about apple juice.
Oh,
Yeah, when they said there was so much cyanide in apple juice that that it was many doctors in the medical community was ready to lynch him, over that statement. Because they were like, "Oh no, that can't be possible. The FDA and the fruit, would not allow apple juice to exist and be given to children with that much amount of cyanide in it." And they had to repent because the chemist did not lie. The cyanide was there. So there's a lot of things out there that causes. You don't like Dr. Oz? You're not a fan, huh?
I'll put it to you this way.
Uh-huh.
If you take your medical or health cues from Dr. Oz, you're better off grabbing the heaviest object that you can possibly find and slam it into your head repeatedly until you pass out or die.
Now, why would you say that about Dr. Oz? He got Oprah money.
Because he's a quack.
Okay. Well, he's got a whole research team over there with Oprah money. I'm gonna say it again. Oprah money.
I don't care. He's a quack.
Okay. And he's in New York.
The guy had to admit in hearings that he was a quack. So, what do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, you can't take him seriously. Hell, he was auditioning for the new host on Jeopardy one week, and they crucified him for doing that on social media. So he can't get a job as dog catcher.
Well, I mean, whatever. I'm just talking about him as a medical professional. He's ridiculous. What I'm saying he has pushed.
Right. What I'm saying is because of that, he can't do anything post that. Because of him going on record that's saying, yes, I made a mistake, or yes, I lied about this. After that, whatever credibility you had is shot to hell. So like I said before, you can try to get your driver's license. You probably couldn't get that. Shit. When your credibility is gone, man, you have nothing. You can't get a job anywhere.
And he did it to himself. He hoarded himself out for money.
That's what he did.
He touted products that were complete lies, and he had to admit that in open court. Or I don't know if it was court or hearings, but either way,
I think it was a hearing. I think
yeah, he had to admit that. Yeah, no, this stuff doesn't work. I just I said it because I wanted to make money. That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Well, Dr. Oz is on the top of the hit list. All righty. and by the way,
bottom of the shit list. Either way, man.
And by the way, he does broadcast from New York. I just want to add that in there.
Ooh, wait, please do the East Coast versus Ron Coast program. I'm gonna put it out there in the universe right now. Please, Jeebus,
Oh
please
man.
have the broadcast coming up soon
Yes.
with East Coast versus Ron Coast.
I just want people to note who broke the peace here. I said nothing.
That's right.
I will not be the one to break the peace we have established today, like they said in The Godfather. But hey, there's always one in the crowd.
Yeah.
Always.
I just
It's like that old
know.
joke. When people were stoning Mary Magdalene,
Yes.
and Jesus Christ ran to her side, and he said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." And then he got hit in the head in the rock, and he said, "Mom, you could be a pain in the ass sometimes."
And that's a great note
There's
to end
always
on.
one in the crowd.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. All right.
I love it. And just for the public
Didn't I
that
just say good note
follow
to
us,
end on?
yeah, I'm getting ready to say I'm helping you.
Okay, go ahead.
Just on the way out the door, we got through a whole show without one stripper name.
Okay, somebody say the stripper name. Let's get out the
I
way.
was focused. No, I was focused, man. I'm good.
You know what I'm
good.
saying?
I'm gonna, once in a while, I have to have an unblemished record.
Oh boy.
Take us home, Chris. Take us
Okay,
home.
you sure? You don't want to bring a stripper name real quick? I know I can see in the back of your throat. You want to get the stripper name out so bad. Let's get it out the way before we get out of here. You broke the truce. You might as well go and get the stripper name. Go ahead, Ron.
I don't have stripper names. That's not my thing, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No, he's just got strippers.
There you go.
Right.
And I don't know their name. Yes, I do not.
Oh man. Catch Street News Now every Thursday, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 8 p.m. Central Time, and 6 p.m. on the West Coast. It is Five Guys and You. It is our fearless leader, Lee Michaels. He'll be back next week, along with Professor Reggie Miles. And also make sure you go to the YouTube channel, Street News Now, SNN. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Catch us on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. For Francisco, a.k.a. Chocolate Yaddah, for Dr. Ron, I'm Chris Bates. We'll do it again next week. Take care. Be peaceful.
All right.